Hey everyone, Kevin here. Virtual reality and augmented reality are growing industries these days, and they both have so many applications in instructional design. I have seen some absolutely amazing e learning created using these tools, and they've been able to greatly enhance what we do on a daily basis. I have a VR headset here next to me, actually, and have dabbled in using it to create instruction myself. However, there can be a lot of difficulties in applying both tools, and a number of people recently have questioned if it's even feasible to do so right now. As a result, today I want to talk about the benefits and challenges for instructional designers in implementing VR and AR. And when it comes to the benefits of both VR and AR e learning, there are quite a few. For instance, there's no better way to get learners to interact with the material than having them actually go through the motions of their job in a virtual setting rather than just through your normal scenarios or knowledge checks like you would get in either Storyline or Rise, for instance. As an example, in my previous position, there was a push for some VR content for technicians working on the autonomous vehicles because it would allow them to physically know where everything was on the vehicle and learn really dense technical information outside of a busy garage that already has pre existing safety hazards. So, we're talking about a deeply immersive and engaging way of getting learners to achieve the objectives while being in a safe and controlled environment, since the simulation allows them to hone their skills away from the real job they will eventually have to do. Mistakes just aren't a big deal in VR, and what better way to get learners ready before starting their job than in such a safe setting? Essentially, VR and AR provide opportunities for learning that can't be done in traditional e learning or instructor led training due to each's limitations. Plus, it's just more fun to visualize things as if you were on the job rather than looking at photos of your workplace on a computer monitor, meaning that the content is more engaging and has a greater likelihood of being retained. Importantly, the content can be more effectively personalized for learners as well due to its flexibility in creating tailored learning experiences. In the end, what you are left with are lasting improvements for a company because it's often a sure way to guarantee that businesses see real results in rectifying training problems. Now, all that being said, there are a number of problems with creating VR and AR instruction right now in 2024. Paramount among those is that VR is incredibly expensive. The equipment alone can be totally cost prohibitive to the point of insanity. I mean, the headsets alone can run nearly $300 a piece, and to have an effective program that can train more than one person at a time, you're going to need a whole bunch of them. Plus, you need a network capable of running all the data at a decent speed. That will need to be purchased because VR needs serious bandwidth and processing power, an amount that few companies really have access to right now. Not to mention the tech support personnel that must also be hired to keep the technology running and to troubleshoot issues as they arise. Personally, I have a gaming computer I built myself that can run these tools, and I have the technical expertise to do so. But most employers won't have access to that kind of hardware or personnel right off the bat, nor really have a reason to unless they are choosing to heavily invest in this emerging technology. Implementing all of this on any meaningful scale is just too much of an ask financially for the vast majority of companies right now. And yes, prices will eventually decrease over time, but considering that VR is still a bit of a vanity item to most people right now, it can be hard to argue for its purchase by your employer, especially considering that the time and effort it takes to create VR e-learning is another humongous cost on top of the equipment price. It takes a lot of time. Oh, and speaking of that, you also need really specialized employees who have experience with creating this type of content. Right now, there simply aren't that many people who have the necessary skill set and who possess the deep understanding of not only the required tools, but also how to make this kind of learning as engaging as it can be. Finally, you also have to deal with potential accessibility problems because you most likely will have employees with visual or auditory processing problems, so VR and AR learning may not be suited for them, thus leaving out certain workers who still need to learn whatever the content is. As a result, there's a genuine barrier that can be created with these tools that must be accounted for during the lengthy development cycles that are also required for this type of instruction. So, overall, what's my verdict? Well, both VR and AR have great potential and will inevitably grow in importance and popularity over the next few decades. Most ideas would benefit from at least learning some of the general principles and underlying technology behind it, since they'll most likely use it at some point in the future. However, my ultimate opinion is that it is just too expensive in its current state for widespread ID use. So few companies have the capital to spend on it, and even fewer learning situations are high risk and high reward enough to warrant the investment. As it gets more affordable in coming years, that may grow, but just not yet. And I think that I've arrived at time for today. If you have any questions or would like to discuss this further, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to help. See you next time.